Welcome back, one and all, to the CHGO Sky Podcast, a part of the CHGO Sports and ALLCITY Sports Network. Appreciate you joining us on this Tuesday afternoon, and I am Chris Pennant here alongside Stephen Pridgie and Garner, the best X's and O's man this side of the Mississippi River, and your favorite flag football quarterback's favorite flag football quarterback. Stephen, how you feel, sir?
I'm blessed, my guy. 4 more tutties on Sunday. We locked in. We working.
Let's go, man. Call the 5,000 rush. My man is elusive. You can't catch.
That's right. That's right. We out here. We agile. Big hips.
We got a special guest on with us today. Please join us in welcoming Ice Young, former D1 basketball player at Florida, Syracuse, and Siena, where she was all Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference her senior season. The founder and CEO of Your World Media, offering media training to broadcasters and young professionals alike, and recently upgraded to host of men's and women's basketball for Yahoo Sports and part of their NBA draft coverage last month. Isis, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for having me. So excited to talk hoops with you.
Most definitely.
Let me just go ahead and interject. What a rap sheet. What an intro. This and that and that and that stacking. Congratulations. We appreciate having you on. This is big time.
Thank you, fam. Thank you, fam. Could say the same things about you.
Seriously, honestly, it's great to have you on the show. I appreciate you big timing us with the background. Got the flowers back there. Look, extra professional, matching the outfit as well.
Look, something gotta grow. It's nice to walk around the home and see things growing. I don't have kids, so you got to see something grow, and plants are the way to go.
This is very true. Before we get into everything, as always, hit up the like on YouTube for yourselves, for your families, for the Sky, for the WNBA, for everybody involved with this, including our producer who's working through the storm remnants last night, Greg Braggs, on his Wheels of Steel for us today. So throw that like in there, and let's get into the conversation. Isis, I think first and foremost, it's been an incredible season for the WNBA with the increased coverage, the new rookie class, and everything that we've gone along with it. Just to open the conversation up, what's been your viewpoint on the 2024 WNBA so far?
Yeah, it's like a rocket ship. It's taken off. It seems like it's taken off on all levels. The play on the court has taken off, right? There are records being broken left and right. There are new names that we're talking about, different players who have stepped up their game. Immediately, I think of obviously Kennedy Carter with all that she's been through and her background, and seeing her compete. Even a Bridget Carlton on the Minnesota Lynx, has been a good player in the league, but this year looks totally different. Kayla McBride, someone who's been in the league for over a decade and shooting his career numbers. Aside from the best player in the world, and Angel Reese, so on the court, it's a rocket ship. In terms of media, right, and just the number of eyeballs and jobs and money that is going into it, it's like a rocket ship. The audience, the viewers, the voices, sometimes uninformed, is like a rocket ship, And so it's just all things are going up. And I think I'm so happy to be proud of it. I'm so happy that, as these things are happening and new contracts are happening and new TV deals and, new players in this rookie class, it's just so nice to have a close front row seat to history, because in 10, 20 years when we're looking back, we'll be talking about this time. We'll be talking about this time right here when Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks went undefeated, when Angel Reese, a number 7 pick, shocked the world and broke a record, not just for a rookie, but for a player in the W. I think it'd just be such a cool time to look back at. And so I'm just so thankful that I have a front row seat to it. And like anything else, things that are growing and trending upwards, they don't come without some cons. But I think the pros have outweighed that.
I fully agree.
I think she said it all, honestly. It's definitely in the history of the W and the history of basketball. It's going to be a bookmarked season for a multitude of reasons. Some of the negatives you have to take with the exponential positives that you're receiving in abundance. And, you just kind of take it in stride. And this is definitely something that's picking up steam. And I'm really looking forward to seeing when these next iterations of draft classes come through into the league, with the personalities, with the off the court endorsements and everything that they have going on in terms of things in particular with their personalities and just generally how that continues to uplift also the evolution of the game. Starting to see more guards coming in with more skill sets, starting to see more bigs coming in that can do everything on the basketball court. And everywhere in between, you even got wings like Madison Booker that are just doing everything under the sun as well. So I'm just really looking forward to this next crop of players coming in and bringing in everything that players like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark have already brought to the league in its present state.
100%.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been amazing to watch. I think going back to when I started covering the league in 2016, the talent level wasn't far off from where it is now. But you talk, like you said, about Kayla McBride, who started her career, I believe, with the Silver Stars, and then moved to Las Vegas now with Minnesota. She was a bona fide shooter back then. But for her to be 10 years deep and putting up the best numbers of her career is a testament not just to how hard she's worked domestically and overseas, but to the improved level of tactics and play that you see going from then to now. Like what Minnesota was doing to succeed in the early 2010s with Maya Moore, with Simone Augustus, is different from what you see them doing now. And they're still, I joke that Minnesota's like that zombie team. They always come back somehow. Like Cheryl Reeve is brilliant at making something out of not too much. And granted, she got Courtney Williams and Alana Smith, who were revelations last season with the Sky, unfortunately, to say that they moved on to Minnesota. But I think that the way that that Cheryl's been able to change the makeup of her team, what Stephanie White's done in Connecticut, even the beginning seedlings of what you saw Kurt Miller doing with the Sparks this year before Cameron Brink's injury, it's a testament to the advancement of the league, how they've integrated better data, better analytics, better training. And that's why I'm excited so far, because the injection of viewership means more revenue, means more money. And that means everything's going to get, hopefully, that things in terms of the product on the floor are going to get better as we go on.
Yeah, and with that, the increased level of play, the development of skills, the evolution of the game also puts the demand on people like ourselves in the media space, whether you're writing, podcasting, or elsewhere, to evolve with the times. The more depth and the more layers to the game within those four lines means there's a demand on a better understanding of what's going on. And I feel like kind of tying it into the opening is a big reason why having somebody like Ice, who not just played the game, but articulates it extremely well, even for a novice fan to understand, is extremely important to having these types of positions. So I think everything is kind of working in lockstep with one another. And I think everything is in a very, very solid place, so long as people decide to look at the positives and not the negatives.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ice, you referred to people who are not always informed. How much have you come across in your time with Yahoo Sports in terms of not just the negative, but what have you seen from, let's say, the new crop of WNBA fans?
Yeah. One, I think they're passionate. I think they come as hard and as passionate as the women do on the court, which is what you want. You want bought-in fans. Two, I love that they follow players. I think that that's something that the NBA for a long time has done so well, is like, hey, we've got LeBron's fans, we've got Ant-Man's fans, we've got Jason Kidd's fans, we've got Steve. Like, they've branded off of people having their own brand and their fan base. And so I think the W has finally got that. Like the Reese's Pieces are here and fully in stock. Like things like this matter. Things like this matter. They do, because that's how people are bought in, right? And I think it's so important because, obviously, Caitlin Clark has helped bring tons of eyeballs and stuff to the game through her own fans. But I think people are realizing that her fans are basketball fans. And then when you watch high-level basketball on the W side, if you're actually there for the basketball, you will stay for more than just Caitlin Clark or an Angel Reese or et cetera. And so that's the really cool part. I will say, like, as media, right before I signed my Yahoo deal, I spent a lot of time thinking about what's important right now. What moment are we in where the media, what role are we playing? What does it look like? How can I be on the right side of things, and make sure to tell the right stories and ask the right questions. And so it's not as simple as saying like, be anti Caitlin Clark for Angel. Like these things are dumb, and simplified in a way. It's more so like making sure that stories off the court about what some of these women are, supporting and what they're about and what they've been through are being told, as much as the high level basketball that's on there. And so I wanted to say that, and having like uninformed fans, it's my job as somebody who recently called a game on CBS where anybody in the country, in the world can listen in, to make sure that I inform them, to make sure that the story that we tell is not just about like the current game that we're talking about, but also the background information of where this player has come from, to how Odyssey Sims is still in a hardship contract somehow, but still nobody can stop her. Like it's about telling the background information of Dallas is the most dangerous team to me because when Satu Sabli comes back, let's really talk about it. Let's really see if y'all can guard them now. Like I feel like when it's giving them the history, the information, and then letting them know like my passion and love for it. So they walk away with hopefully that. So they walk away feeling like, okay, dang, I learned about two teams, their histories, the main players' histories, the role players' roles right now, what they're looking to do this season, and what needs to change from ice. And I hopefully walked away a fan of more than one player that I came to watch. Like that's kind of the goal right now. And so from a media perspective, from working with Yahoo and doing digital stuff to working with CBS and doing broadcast stuff, that's where I found myself is constantly thinking like, for those uninformed fans, how can I inform you in the most well-rounded, charismatic, fun type of way? And I'm still a hooper at heart, so it comes across really easy sometimes because it's just like, watch the game. How can you not be electric?
Man, I gotta say that as a broadcaster in my own right, that is what I learned early on, and I heard so much of that Newhouse School of Journalism coming out. That's Syracuse right there.
Look! Still got a degree behind it. You feel me?
But being passionate about it is not always something that comes across from former players in a broadcast, and that's not to demean anyone. I think it's not always easy for them to transmit that through the screen. And so just from what you told me here, it kind of reminds me, Stephen, of what you told me after the press conference where Teresa Weatherspoon was introduced, where it felt like she was just imbuing everybody in the room with the energy and the passion that she had for the team. When you get a broadcaster who makes the game stand out and just like pop out off the page like a watercolor painting, that does make people love the game.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of flowers being given, but this is in particular why we stand ice because of those exact things. It's not dissimilar to, like you just mentioned, what I spoke to when Teresa ingratiated herself with the media here in Chicago. There's just a certain, you can't fake the funk for old school references. And when you're really aligned and tapped in with the game, and it's past just doing it for fun, like when it's innate to you, when it's natural to you, when you emanate things, it's going to come across differently. And when you're speaking to people that speak the same language as you, you're not going to have to say much. There's going to be a direct understanding. And for those that are trying to learn, they'll also gravitate to that even more as well because of the passion that comes with it, because of the knowledge, informing, engaging, entertaining, being able to do all of those things in succession while getting into the weeds and layers of everything that might be going on, whether you're doing a feature story or you're doing something that's going on the court, X's and O's wise, or breaking down film. It's going to come across differently. And when you have that type of gravity and you carry it the way that certain people in the media space do, that's what you want to have a foundation built off of, to where you're building with the way that the league is growing.
Yeah, Isis, I know we had a comment from Trey Shy before we come to our first break about do you think we need an expansion? We've obviously got expansion coming from Toronto and from Golden State. But from your perspective, before we go to break, any thoughts on what we'll see from the league with those two expansion teams?
What we will see from the league from those two expansion teams, I think one, building off players' names. So I'm curious to know what the league decides to do in terms of when a pick, like the picks, do they automatically get a bid in the lottery? Like most people are like, okay, Paige Becker's automatically going to the Valkyries. Like, no, I don't necessarily think that may be how it works, or is that how it works? So I think one, I'm kind of waiting and I'm excited for like more information to find out that. But I think whoever and wherever these big names go, it's marketing the teams off of those names. 2, I'm really excited to see some players that we continue to let go in this league maybe be able to stay on a roster. Odyssey Sims is a type player that comes to mind. The only thing for Odyssey is that she's unfortunately just getting older. Odyssey is at that point where she's played in the league for 11, 12 years. I'm not sure how much longer she'll compete at a high level if she's not consistently on a team. But there are a number of players that are on contracts, off contracts that I would love to see and know like, oh, you were going to stay on a team. You deserve to be on a team. We want to see you hoop. So I think, opportunities for that. And then hopefully a lot of money, a lot of partnerships, a lot of deals, a lot of TV deals, hopefully a lot of money.
We already saw the league announcing a partnership with New Balance over the last 24 hours. And hopefully we do see more coming in. Isis Young on with the CHGO Sky Podcast. And we'll take a quick break to talk about chilling out when you need those times to get a chiller mindset, or when you need those times to cool out, whether your referees are not making the calls you want, whether your favorite player's double streak was unfairly taken away from them. Sometimes you need to just lay back and relax. And in those moments, when you realize you need to chill, there's nothing better to reach for than an ice cold Coors Light. You know it's cold when the Rocky Mountains are blue, always filtered, cold filtered, always fresh, never frozen. You know what it is when the silver bullet is coming through with LL Cool J leaning out the window saying, I need a girl, even though he's LL Cool J. You understand how it goes. So take those moments, choose chill, and reach for a Coors Light, whether it's this month, next month with the Olympics, when the WNBA comes back and the Sky are in the thick of that playoff chase. Best thing to do is to choose chill and reach for a Coors Light and make the most out of the times when you choose to chill. Get it delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Dunk. Coors Light is mountain cold refreshment, crisp as refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And my favorite read, as always, is Shady Rays. We got Isis on here, who is already a star in her own right. But if you are like me and you want to look like a star to that similar level, no better thing to do than get a pair of Shady Rays. Independent sunglass company, world-class product, rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. That's 300,000 people. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. Whether you like colorful sunglasses like me, you want to get that Chicago Sky blue and gold, they probably have a style in your favorite team's colors. If I wear Shady Rays because my eyes are bad, and I can't take any more of that UV light, so I got to protect my eyes. And if you don't like the shades you get, or you lose them, or they get broken, don't sweat it. They have the best protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements, and you can return them worry-free within 30 days or exchange it for a new pair. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. So go to shadyrays.com and use the code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. That's 35% off polarized sunglasses. So try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Shady Rays, proud sponsor of the CHGO Sky Show and CHGO Sports. All right, let's talk about some Chicago Sky stuff. We have seen Angel Reese just blossom, and I don't know if I want to make sure you meant to say this, because in the intro you said she's the best player in the world right now. I don't know if that was like a connection right off the bat, or you're just like, Angel could be that, but she's been so good already this season that I think she could reach that top 5 echelon. Greg, can we bring up just what we've seen from Angel the first half of this season? It's been Barbie's dream house. No Oppenheimer at all. Only one of 2 rookies to make the All-Star team. We know who the other rookie is. Averaging a double-double in this first 17 games of the tour. On pace for a league record in rebounds per game and total rebounds and total offensive rebounds. We didn't even have room to put that up. And a league record double-double streak of 15 games that was set not by the one and only Candace Parker. Isis first, what are your thoughts on Angel Reese and what her trajectory is, where she could end up in the pantheon of greats?
Yeah, I think earlier I was talking about Asia Wilson in the beginning. We were talking about, I think, the league as a whole, but I'm thoroughly impressed with Angel. I think when I have talked to first or second year like W players, everyone talks about the pace and the physicality being the 2 main areas that you have to adjust to, being the 2 areas that you have to focus on that's either going to hold you back or put you on the court. And so from a physicality standpoint, she has had no adjustment. She has taken hits. She has given out hits. She has scored through contact. She has blocked shots. She has dove for every rebound. I mean, the physicality, she does not look like it is her first year out there from that standpoint, which is amazing, especially because this is a post-player driven league. Whether people like to admit it or not, the W is a post-player driven league. And so for her to go in there amongst some of the best post players in the world, and from a physicality standpoint, not seem minute to a Brittany Griner, to a Jonquil Jones, to a Asia Wilson, is fantastic. On the other side of it, I think her pace has gotten better within the game. I think her cuts, her timing, not even off of rebounding, but actually play within the offense. And I think the best thing about Angel is there's a tremendous room for growth, but you know that through her mindset, it's going to happen. The next thing for Angel for me would be, you know, everyone talks about, has commented on her field goal percentage, but I feel like that's expected. Like if I was going to the next level and at college, I shot 50% pull-up jump shots. At the next level, it's probably likely that I'll start automatically shooting 37% jump shots off of me being tired, with defense being better alone. Those two things would make a difference, right? And so I feel like, hey, it's bigger women, strong women. The hits are a little bit harder. You're having to jump harder and rebound, and the physicality of the game, I can understand. And I think Angel's game is so unorthodox that, to me, before she got to the W, a lot of the shots that she would make that wouldn't be straight layups, I didn't really think were skill. I really thought she just had fantastic touch and kind of got lucky. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I wouldn't say like, okay, she was a post player that had moves, could score back to the basket, and these things were solidified. I'd be like, sometimes she's a little unorthodox and she just gets the touch. She just gets the roll. She just has the good angle. But I think the next level for her game is, one, to improve her field goal percentage through like slowing down on the block, like actually controlling herself more, using more up fakes, playing a controlled style, and then picking up on her footwork. I think her footwork in the post could also be a little bit better and a little bit more cleaner. And those two things will help you avoid and create space to be able to then finish a little bit better. So I feel like for her, the opportunity right now, after All-Star Weekend, which honestly, congratulations to her, because again, it's so amazing what she's been able to do in such a short amount of time to be an All-Star as a rookie, along with Caitlin Clark. But I think the opportunity for her to grow during the Olympic break and to come out with a couple of moves and tactics that she can use to finish a little better on the basket will be huge for the Sky come the second half of the season. But to me, as a post player, new rookie post player in the W, her field goal percentage is not concerning. Could it be better? Yes, but it's not concerning. Yeah, she's playing a new level of basketball. Like there should be some resistance. The same way Caitlin Clark is leading the league right now in turnovers. There was going to be some resistance. Come on. It happens. And that's okay. They're rookies for a reason. They have opportunities to get better.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because our typical fan base is going to love that you threw that in there.
I'm an informed broadcaster. You're never going to walk away not knowing the facts or understanding what's going on. And I approach it from both sides. But again, they're both rookies. So like these things can exist. It is okay. It's your first time out here. You know, it's your first time out here. We can't expect you to do everything perfectly. And they both made history within their own right, but they both have two clear areas that they need to improve on if they want their teams to be successful come playoff time. That's what we're really talking about now. Now we're over with them being rookies and, oh, you're doing this and doing that. I don't care. Now your teams are in the top 8. Can you get your team to the playoffs to where you have the opportunity to win? Now I'm looking at you like you've grown. I'm over the rookie thing now. We're trying to hoop and play basketball and win. Let's go.
I think that said perfectly. And you speaking to the part where you can't expect for them to be perfect, especially this early, and especially with the talents across the entire W at their respective positions. They're going up against literal all-stars and literal all-time greats on a nightly basis at their respective positions. And to that point, though, you look at the rapid growth from both of those players. Caitlin just being this all-inclusive gravity within the offense, whether she has the ball in her hands and pick and roll, or she's moving around, running off of screens, or just spacing without the ball, far away, 2-3 passes away from her primary action. The tension that comes with that, And the way she's wearing that attention and using it as an advantage for her teammates, it's remarkable. Also, with her drives, she still doesn't have the body I think she will in 2-3 seasons from weightlifting and physical training.
Yeah.
But still being better with dealing with contact on her drives to where she's not necessarily seeing the same impact that she saw in college, but she's still being able to get that shoulder and leverage downhill, having a little bit more backbone and really starting to hit a little bit more first instead of always reacting to somebody else hitting her, I think is important. And then you look at Angel, for sure. And then you look at Angel, you already talked about the conversations with Tina Charles and letting her know that she has all day when she has the ball in her hands. The patience, the attention to detail and absorbing contact with her dictated with contact in the post, her using those pump fakes and playing off of footwork, like we talked about the likes of Asia Wilson and Nneka Ogwumike use as an advantage and counterpunch when you're playing in the post through physicality. I think those little things really matter. And like Isis mentioned, regardless of the field goal percentage with Angel, I think and even with Caitlin by that same measure, it's all about the process. Are they continuing to evolve their craft? Or are they trying to go against the grain and still play the game the same way? I can firmly, confidently say that both of these two rookies are of the stratosphere that they are in the league right now because they're continuing to evolve their craft. And it's a hyper detailed and focused manner in which they're going about doing so.
Guys, just go ahead if you have anything to add on that.
I don't. Let's talk Sky though. I want to kind of give you guys some, thoughts on the team.
Okay, this is something that I've been wondering about. Greg, so we pull up that shot profile graphic that we had. This has been concerning for me. I know we just talked about Angel Reese's just overall shot, field goal percentage, which you can live with right now. You know it's going to improve. But when we've talked in the past, Stephen and I, and Isis, I know you've seen this as well. The Sky's tendency to go more for twos than threes, and this kind of breaks it out more. These are all from Basketball Reference. They shoot 6% more than anybody in terms of two-pointers, and they have the highest number of attempts or percentage of attempts of shots at the rim within 3 feet. The concerning thing for me when I checked this was that they shoot the second lowest percentage from the two-point range and last in the league at field goals from the rim. Now, we know that Angel gets her shot blocked at this point in time more than anybody in the league, so that accounts for most of those. But I think when you look at the three-point attempts and their three-point percentage from corner threes, is something that they could really look to in the second half of the season. Stephen, I'm interested to get your thoughts on this. Isis, you as well, but just is this just a Teresa Weatherspoon thing? Is it just a new coaching staff trying to utilize the personnel that they have the best they can, or what? What is the function and where's the change come from?
Yeah, so immediately what I'll say is Chicago's post players don't shoot threes. So Camilla does not shoot threes. Elizabeth Williams doesn't shoot threes. I'm looking at stats right here. Breonna Turner, when she played, didn't shoot threes. Izzy Harrison, 25%. I'm not sure how many attempts she took, right? But those are the post, and obviously Angel Reese, right? They don't shoot threes. And so I could give you other teams. Seattle, Nneka Ogwumike, Ezi Magbagor, comfortable shooting threes. Washington, Steph, Big Master Steph, Stephanie Dolson, 3-point shooter, right? Can stretch it out. BG recently knocked down 2 threes in one of those games. If BG hit, everybody else got to start shooting. It's because it's no excuse. So here's what I'll say from the makeup of the team. It's unfortunate, but it's not surprising because you literally have post players who don't shoot threes. It's not that they can't, they don't. And so therefore you already know that you're going to pack in the paint. You already know that you're going to shoot a high percentage of twos. So that's where the 6% comes in. My conversation with Chicago would be that if you're going to take this high percentage of corner threes, which it typically is a high percentage three that you're looking for and open off of rotations, you got to be knocking it down. The other issue, though, is can you get Marina Mabry and more of those actions? And can Kennedy Carter get her 3 percentage up? She's only shooting 23% right now from 3. And if you know Kennedy Carter in college, she is capable of being a 33% 3-point shooter at the very least. I truly believe. But I think it's becoming more comfortable with shooting those. A lot of the time on the ball screen action, if Mabry is in the action, Mabry can also shoot the corner 3, right? In which we know she's lights out if she can just catch and shoot and maybe half blink. and that thing is going in. So I feel like they got to find a way to get her in off-ball actions quickly to be able to knock down some of those shots. And then Dana Evans as well. I think Dana Evans has proven to be a very good shooter. I wonder if Dana is comfortable stepping into a role in which catch and shoot becomes her bread and butter. Because I think if she did that on this team, she would play a little bit more rather than having to go off the bounce. Now you have two people who can catch and shoot and really stretch it out. But again, she's got to be committed to doing that. And if you look at the analytics, there's a need for it. There's a need for somebody else to step in and just be a pure catch and shoot 3-point shooter. And you're going to knock them down at a high rate. And there's no one else on the roster other than Dana Evans, who I think could be like that next best consistent shooter. Kennedy Carter's going to play off the bounce, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. Chris, you could take us to the ad break, and then I'll kind of hop back in after that.
All right. Well, let's make sure that we say once again that thank you for having Isis Young on the show. We're gonna get this ad break, and then Isis will take you out right after that. So let's give some praise to Sunnyside Cannabis Companies for sponsoring the show. It's the summertime. The CHGO Cookout Classic and the other CHGO golf events are all coming up this season. And I know golf can be stressful. You're worrying about whether those chips are going to go right. You're worried about whether your slice is going to be gone. You're going to look bad in front of Greg or K-Duck or even myself if we're out there. Don't worry about that. Hit up Sunnyside and get the expert guidance from them on brands that we know that you'll love, like Good News, Mindy's, a brand by Beard Award-nominated chef Mindy Siegel. They have everything that you need to elevate your summer. And the Good News Tea Time Disposable Vape will bring that classic lemonade flavor that's perfect for the golf course. We all need a little help staying loose on the green. So head over to sunnyside.shop and use that code HICHGO. That's HICHGO at checkout. For once again, there's that number, 35% off your favorite brands like Cresco, Good News, Mindy's, and more to elevate your first purchase. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every single day, only for ages 21 and over or Illinois medical card holders. And let's give thanks to CDJR, Ray Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in Fox Lake. Your number one draft pick this entire summer to find the perfect new car for you this July. Shop a wider selection of vehicles at Ray CDJR and score new lower prices across their inventory during the Make This the Summer event. For a limited time, you can lease the new 2024 Jeep Compass Latitude Luxe for only $189 a month or shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. And you know, with the raised price promise, there's no price changing, no add-ons, no hidden fees. The prices you see online or in-store are the same prices you're going to pay before you drive it off the lot. So hurry into Ray CDJR today and shop one of Chicago area's largest inventories, then drive home with more money in your pocket than you would ever expect. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram on Route 12 in Fox Lake. And for more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or RayCDJR.com. Serving the community since Braggs.
19, what is it? 1960 something? 60.
Oh. Alley-oop off the backboard.
Ray's gonna kick my ass.
1963.
1963, when the Bears won a championship that year. God dang.
That is true. We talked about it last show, and I'm like, I'm gonna give you the alley-oop, and then you Torrey Craig and Andre Drummond did, man.
Oh man. See.
I had to make it topical. Isis, one more thing before we let you go. Once again, we appreciate you so much for coming on the show. We've talked about more money coming into the league, which we're going to see over the next few years. We're already seeing the partnerships just explode, which negates all the questions that people had before of, is women's basketball worthwhile from an economic standpoint? We did have some news come out today from the Chicago Sky office that season ticket holders will be seeing an increased price in their tickets. And we actually got this news up. Thank you, Greg. We got the email verbatim. We're so excited of the amount of energy and passion you've been bringing to Wintrust Arena. Pretty much, if you've ever bought tickets or a ticket package from a team, the typical corporate email that you'll see. And we're expecting approval on an increased schedule next year, 44 games with 22 home games. Now, in this, as they also talk about a pay-as-you-play playoff plan, there was an invoice attached where the majority of ticket prices went up 240 to 267%, which means that, exactly. So a $70 ticket that's on Ticketmaster right now for the 200 level, would cost about $165 next year. Is this something you were expecting with the increased eyes on the league? And is this something that you say it's fair for fans to expect going forward?
So remember when I said that when something is growing and is trending upwards, it comes with cons as much as it does pros. Unfortunately, this is a con, but fortunately for the league and the women and the money that needs to go into it, I understand. I don't think we can have it all, right? We can't have bigger arenas without higher price tickets. I don't think we can have bigger TV deals without higher price tickets. I just don't think we can have. I don't think we can have training facilities. See, this is the thing about business that a lot of people don't think about when they start thinking about money. What do you think they're getting money for? There in the league. What do you think the league is getting money for? I would hope it would be to fund more teams. I would hope it would be to keep more roster spots. We say it's the 144 best women in the world. It's really 133 because everybody can't afford to keep 12 people on their roster and still pay the best players what they deserve in the max. So I'm saying if that's what we have to suffer, is that we have to pay more for the tickets to go to these games so that the league can grow the way it can, so that it can connect to younger girls in basketball the way that it can, so it can grow communities the way that it can economically, then I think we have to just say okay to that. So I absolutely expected more things to happen like this and for ticket prices to go up and things like that, because that's business. That's the economy. Once people know that they can make money off it, they're going to make money off of it. They're not going to keep it for sale. Hibachi isn't sold at McDonald's for a reason. You know what I'm saying? So we listen. We got to pay hibachi prices. If we believe in these women, we believe in the league, and we want to make sure that the league stays around and continues to grow. But I'm hoping that all this money goes towards adding for expansion teams. It goes towards keeping players on rosters. It goes towards the next couple of teams setting themselves up in markets where it's successful. I don't want any more teams to set up in a city and then it has to move because the market didn't buy in. That should no longer be happening. And it takes money and it takes buy-in to be able to do that.
I think you hit on all of the boxes to check off in terms of the logistics side and how the business side is crucial to the growth, because you want to profit off of the growth to then be able to facilitate to so many different dynamics that these women desire and they deserve. Mm-hmm. These are like bare minimum things that me and Chris have spoken to that a team like the Chicago Sky just don't have. They don't have their own lockers. They don't have their own arena. They don't have their own practice facilities. All of these things matter, and you can't get to those steps without taking these steps. And it's unfortunate. And I kind of look at it in my coverage of basketball. Both you two know I also cover the Phoenix Suns. So kind of looking at both leagues, this is obviously on the NBA side with the Suns. In 2021, the 2020-21 season, they made a trade for Chris Paul going into that season. Over the course of that season, they won a lot of games, made it to the NBA Finals. Within all of that, ticket prices started spiking up. They made the finals. Those ticket prices went up, and coming out of that season, eventually they outpriced the people that were the common folk within the culture of fandom that they established attending the games. That's an unfortunate shift. It's part of the business part of things, but I'm hoping that for the Chicago Sky, they find ways to continue to integrate community within all of the things that they're doing logistically on the business side, because you don't want to outprice the fans that have been the ones that have been committed to your franchise since you were in Rosemont over a 10 to 15 year window of time. So I just want to make sure and hope that there's a contingency plan, or not even a contingency plan. There's a plan directly in alignment with the ascension of the team and the generation of revenue to also continue to include all spectrums on the economic scale of Chicago. And that it's not just catering to one specific demographic or one specific means of money being generated from a particular family or a particular race, even for that matter, if you were to take it that far. So I just want to make sure it's continuing to be all inclusive with it all.
I think that's a great point to make. And I think that there are several teams and markets in the league who may not deal with the same issue. You know, a Phoenix may not deal with the same issue in terms of their demographic and who's attending and money. And that's not to say that, like, hey, poor people are everywhere. Yes. But they just not mind to be dealing with that with those that attend their games. So I think that's a fair issue that you make. And, like, this is why I hope that the people in the league that are making decisions have reflected and been in some of these positions where they would see and understand. You know, like, that's why it's important that the athletes are there, because the athletes know. Everyone has had the teammate where, hey, we you know, she comes with us, right? She can't afford to on her own. Nope, we take care of her. Everyone has had that athlete. Like, that's ingrained in terms of the game that we play, you know, and so in sports and the culture. So I think that's a great point to make. I think it's something that should be raised, you know, and talked about, because every market in terms of who they have coming to the games does not necessarily fit that. But at the same time, there's good and bad on both sides. But I don't think that the W will allow the prices to get to a level where it starts to be exclusive to some, because that would go against the DNA of the W is inclusive to all. That's what the league is known as. So I highly doubt that will happen. But I think that's a valid point to raise.
I certainly hope so, Isis, because you're right. I've talked about for a while, as we're going to get you out of here in a moment. If I wake up on any given day in Chicago and I think to myself, I want to go see a sporting event, the NFL was always out. You can't just wake up and say you're going to go to a Bears game. Bulls games after Rose came in, really over the last 20, 25 years, I could never say, okay, I had to have a good job before I had to said I could go to a Bulls game. And it was always 300 level tickets. With the White Sox or even the Cubs and the Sky, I always felt if I wanted to get a ticket, I could get a ticket. Even when the White Sox were good, maybe a little bit less so when the Cubs were in their World Series era, I could still say, I want to go to a baseball game today. I can go to a baseball game. With the Sky, I know my partner got tickets for Game 4 of the 21 finals the day of. She sat upstairs, but she was able to get those tickets for $25, $30. Now,
wow.
For the Aces, for the Mercury coming in, those are $80 tickets plus Ticketmaster fees. There's always resales available. They're putting out to other resellers, and so that's what I worry about. I want to talk more about that, and I'm sorry that we can't have you on for it. But once again, Ice Young.
I got one last comment before you say bye to me. Then we have to talk about League Pass, because if we think we're gonna keep paying $35 to see all these games and on replay, we need to have a conversation. But I could see that the trade-off is that League Pass doesn't grow up 267%, only the in-game, only the audience that comes to the games. But League Pass has to stay manageable. Any more than $50 would be too much, because you still want people to watch and buy in, and you need them to believe that they're getting their money's worth. Yeah, sorry, that was my last thought.
No, I appreciate it. That's why I wish we could have you on for the full hour. But thank you for coming on with us in the time that you had available. Isis Ice Young, follow her on Twitter at IceYoung23. Catch her on Yahoo Sports all season long, all year long, really, because it's women's basketball, it's men's basketball, it's college basketball. Wherever basketball is played, Isis Young will be there. And follow her if you don't already on LinkedIn. Where she's just talking about so many good, intricate things that matter in this sport. Isis, once again, thank you for coming on with us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much, Stephen and Chris, for having me.
Appreciate you always. We'll talk soon.
Awesome.
I want to piggyback off that before we get into like the second half of the schedule, because this is an important issue to me. I think y'all are both right. It's a business, right? We understand that it's a business. Sports in professional sports is a business. It's not a game. Once it moves off the playgrounds, once it moves out of I can't even say the high school gyms, because there's a business aspect to that as well, as you're well aware. But when you have a sport like this, when you have people talking about, they have to consider whether they're going to pay rent or keep their season tickets. Eric Nemchok, who I've known for a while, who we know is one of the most passionate Sky fans around, has those courtside seats. He was gracious enough to give me this quote The sheer jump in prices really caught me off guard, especially considering there was initially no communication from the team that it was something we needed to be looking for. They raised prices for my seats by around 240%, which was a shock, and we have until early August to make any changes before our payment auto-renews. So that's a major financial decision to be made in a pretty short time frame. When I first saw it, I'd say I got a sinking feeling. I've had season tickets since 2012 and my current seats since 2016, and all of a sudden I'm wondering if I can afford to keep them. As a whole, it feels like longtime Sky fans who have been there since the All-State and UIC days are suddenly getting priced out of the seats they've had for many years. And for those of us who genuinely love our team and plan our summers around Sky games, that's a pretty lousy feeling. That's important to note. People who plan their summers around Sky games, this is an activity that people consider when they're, putting in vacation plans, when they're thinking about, okay, it's April, it's May. They're putting the games on their calendar like we're putting the games on their calendar because it's just as much of an important event to them, and they're paying for it. They're not getting paid for it like we are. This isn't a job for them. It's a commitment. It's a passion. And I think, Mark Carmen's talked about this with Jack Silverstein. He had Bull season tickets, and every year they moved further back, and they kept emailing like, "Do you want to move here? We'll move you here if you want to keep paying the same price, or you can upgrade to keep your seats, for an increase in price." And it's something that's always going to happen, but you cannot sacrifice your fan base for the bread, especially because people have made this point. Nowhere in the email it said, here's what we're doing with this extra revenue. So we're talking about practice space. We're talking about improved facilities and amenities. We don't know if that's where it's going. We don't know. The team hasn't been transparent on this. So it's incumbent on the Sky to not just consider that fan base, but to be transparent about their intentions. Polo G, who follows the show, he said he'd be cool if the Sky move out of the Saxark Recreation Center and he's paying the extra money. But we don't know. So as Nino Brown said, this is big business. This is the American way. But we can't just accept that because the Sky are good and popular now, that we're just going to pay whatever the team says they want to make us pay.
And on the theme of quotes, J. Cole had a quote on this song Brackets on his KOD album. He said, "I pay taxes, so much taxes, bleep, don't make sense. Where do my dollars go? You see, lately, I ain't been convinced." And to your point, or speaking to them not speaking to fans about where the extra funding is going to be going to, I think that aligns with the quote that you mentioned and the quote that I just mentioned. People just want to know where their money's going. That will, you can say it's fair or not, but people are going to feel more comfortable if you say, hey, this extra money that you are going to be paying to get your season ticket and to hold down your seats is going to be going to X respective position within everything that we're trying to build for this franchise, or it's going to be going funnel to this particular community initiative that we're partnering with, that we're going to be partnering with more down the line. People just want to know where their money's going if you're going to be paying that much more. And I think that would be able to generate more buy-in, not unlike Teresa Weatherspoon has to generate buy-in with her players. They just want to see what the finished product and desire is, how their efforts are going to add up to that, and just generally speaking, what that process is going to look like. Can't be mad at fans. I appreciate Eric for his candidness. He's always candid, and just generally speaking from a perspective that's transparent. He's not being biased in any way. We appreciate Eric for everything that he provides, and I think he can honestly serve as a microcosm of a lot of the thoughts that a handful of the other people will be having when they receive that email earlier this week. So
because
I'm definitely curious to see where these things are going to be going in the near future.
Yeah, sorry, Steven. I was just going to add to this because I think that is the issue with a lot of people is the surprise of it, like and not really disclosing at the start of the season where everybody can get their ducks in a row financially. And this was another person on just going around Twitter and seeing some of the reaction from Leah saying my Chicago Sky tickets went from $268 with taxes and fees to $985. I have not been talked to or emailed. They just put up an invoice. That is a 267% increase. I knew prices would go up, but I wanted to still be able to root for my team. She goes on to say, I'm about to be priced out of being a Chicago Sky season ticket holder. No email from my account rep, no conversation, just an invoice uploaded to my account. I love this team, but being a season ticket holder is over. So, I think that's kind of what it is, just the abruptness of this. I think they expected it, but then to try to kind of just slide it through in the way they did, I think that's mostly what fans are most upset about at this point.
And honestly, before you go real quick, Chris, honestly, this feels too similar to a lot of the lacking that the league has had. You have all of these top-end talents coming into your league. That with these top-end talents and the attention that they garner, there's going to come a demand for evolution. The way you did things before Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark came into your league it was unacceptable when they were in high school, when they were in middle school. You can go back way before people really knew who they were. But the fact that they're here now and we're still seeing such a slow evolution on the business side of things, logistically, there's a demand. The league has to step up, and every team that's a piece of the umbrella under the WNBA umbrella has to be better with the way they're going about doing things. I know people hate to hear people tap the sign on everything that the Las Vegas Aces are doing is being done the right way, but they quite literally are so far ahead of the curve that it's becoming a competitive advantage when it comes to bringing in players, to where players are willing to literally take pay cuts to go and play with that team. One, because you can win the championship, obviously. But the other thing on the business side, the way that the franchise, Mark Davis and company are handling things over there, and the way that their social media teams and XYZ and ABC are doing things, there's just so many steps ahead of everybody else. That's the golden standard right now. Everybody has to figure out how to get to that level on the court between those four lines, but also off the court and all of the aspects of a team and franchise in addition to that.
Yeah, you have to be able to keep up with the Joneses and outpace them in some respects. And I know money takes a part of that. Mm-hmm. It's hard because I this gets me so upset knowing how much, especially now when you consider the general situation in the world outside of sports, where people's dollar doesn't go as far as it did last year, that you're asking them to pay, 2.5 times what they did last year or the year before that. And it's not just the Sky. I'm looking at this tweet from Geek Misconduct about how it's fun being a season ticket holder, but doubling the price of the seat in one season. There's Lynx fans who talked about they had to give up their season tickets. They had a half game package in 2023, and the seats for this year were going to nearly double, and can't imagine what the price will be in 2025. So it's like you're always pricing out these people who are the ones who are screaming from the rooftops to come and watch these games, come and see these games. You've got to come and watch these games because these players, this league is so much fun to see. And those people didn't come until you had this influx of talent. And now, I don't even know if the new fans, whether they're educated or not, if they can come and watch these games either. You can say whatever you want about having them in the arena, but my friend Maya Goldberg-Safir, when she writes her WNBA Rough Notes column, she talks about the people that you see courtside and how I think she talked one day looked like fitness influencers, just like camera ready, but they're on their phones like half the games. Like, are these the people who are actually coming to games to watch and be involved in the experience, or are they coming to see and be seen?
And that's exactly why I mentioned what I mentioned after Ice perfectly and succinctly broke down everything on the business side and why things are trending that way and why they need to trend that way. You don't want to sacrifice the culture of the fandom that you've established all these years. How many, Chris? You could take the media hat off and just speak as a person that's been covering the team for so long and just being there to see all the fans. How many times have you had a fan or just general supporter just come up and let you know, like, hey, man, I've been going to games since they were in Rosemont. And I've been here since Cheyenne Parker was here, since Cappy. You could name a litany of names. Sylvia Fowles got drafted. Like all of these times, so many years ago, that they say they still check over to the south side or the near south side to go watch games at Wintrust till this day. And they mark out multiple days over their schedule over the summer, like you talked about, to consistently and religiously do so. It becomes a consistent date night. It becomes a consistent family night and just a general leisure type of event for people to attend. If you start to take away the culture of the people that you've had that have been watching games since the Chicago Sky became established as a franchise in Chicago, you're losing out on everybody that has the experiences that make your home crowd advantage or your general feel for home games unique. Now it's gonna look a lot different. It's gonna feel a lot different. It's not gonna hit the same. I just really I'm not somebody that's bought tickets to go to Sky games. I've always been able to go with like camp and XYZ or whatever. Now covering the team for the last 4 years now, just seeing and having these conversations with so many fans, they open up and they say, yeah, we just hope that things don't change too much. We know change is inevitable. And we know that also when you draft Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese, that inevitability is going to be expedited times 50, times 100. And, little to say, this email that people have been talking about from earlier this week is exactly that. It's unfortunate, but I do just hope that they figure out some way to not have that type of blowback to where things are working against them. I'm glad you brought up Maya speaking to that because that's a very unique eye in the arena with so much other stuff going on to consistently observe that. That's not my cup of tea to write about, but that's definitely something that's caught my eye over the last couple of seasons. And you can start to see the trend. You can already start seeing things kind of change in there a little bit. And I'm just hoping that they're able to kind of reel that in some to keep that culture while also being able to bring in some of the new as well.
Yeah, if y'all don't read Maya's WNBA Rough Notes column at Substack, please do, because she has, as Steven said, a unique eye for this game. It's not a media member's perspective. It's not a fan's perspective. It's a melding of both of those in a really good writing style, something that I've been trying to capture and never quite could, and I think she's gotten it. If you have any thoughts on this, I think for when we have our next show over the Olympic break, we've had some people asking us about mailbags, so I want to do a mailbag, and just ask us anything you want. We always have questions in the comments about, of course, Dana Evans from Region Rev and others, but anything that you want, you think is relevant on the Sky, whether how the second half of the season will play out. Where do you see Angel Reese's trajectory going? What do you think about Teresa Weatherspoon? And more so, just send us those questions. You can hit us on Twitter at CHGO_Sky. Hit up Steven at StateUS.3. Hit up myself at Quandary Kitten. But let's get into some of these talks about the second half of the season. Steven, I know you had the Sky in July, what they did over the past month, really the first half of the month, as well as some talk about Kennedy Carter. So, Braggs, could we bring up that Sky in July graphic? Not terrible numbers, honestly, considering that they had a below-average month of June, but 3-3 so far in the month. 2 of those losses just coming this past weekend to the New York Liberty. 9th in offensive rating, 7th in defensive rating. You would like to see those 4.4 points minus negative 4.4 points on that net, 4.6 be better, but still 8th in the league. 2nd in defensive rebounding, which I think for the season they're around 6th or 7th, so that's solid. 2nd overall in rebound percentage, and number 1 in points in the paint. Now, this is a good sign, especially they had those games against Seattle as well as Atlanta, but that Seattle game I think was their best of the season so far in terms of being able to execute their offense the way they wanted and their defense. Jewel Lloyd had a down game in both of those games at the weekend. Their Sky were able to hold her down specifically en route to that win in the first game on Friday, July 7th. Steven, what did you see from the Sky in July?
Yeah, so far in July, which will be the next thing that we're speaking to as a general topic, but it's been Kennedy Carter's world. It's been Kennedy Carter's world. She's been ascending into her own on the ball. They're featuring her with higher usage on the ball, whether she's flowing off of different variations of screens off the ball or she's initiating offense, which we're seeing uptick in the slightest bit, a little bit more over the course of the last handful of games. And I think that's beneficial for the team as well as for her in terms of how she's being featured. But looking at the Sky as a whole, we've certainly seen them be better on the glass, particularly on the defensive glass. And I think that's a realm of their play that has been leaving more to be desired. We know they've been proficient on the offensive glass. We know a lot of that has been Angel Reese just being the ultimate glass eater. We've also seen Camila Cardoso stake a lot more claim in her presence in the paint on the glass as well, particularly looking on the defensive side of things. Seeing them continue to figure out how to hammer home those type of things on the margins, I think is important. They're a fairly solid defensive team. Issues come when either they're missing box outs or just generally speaking, they lack the gang rebounding mentality of everybody pursuing the basketball. You can't always rely on Camila and Angel to be the ones that are always grabbing the rebounds. And to that point, over the last 6 games, or the last 5 games rather, we've seen Marina Mabry chip in a very helping hand type of manner on the glass. She's averaging 5 rebounds. And when she's grabbing rebounds, she's able to push pace and grab and go scenarios. But the other big commonality within that, which plays right into alignment with everything that Kennedy Carter is, we're seeing, for Chicago Bears reference, brags are like this, we're seeing a Caleb Williams to Keenan Allen type of relationship being established between Marina Mabry and Kennedy Carter. Anytime Marina's grabbing a rebound, which I spoke to, she's grabbing north of 5 a game over the last 5 games. She's immediately looking to get a hit-ahead pass, whether it's up the sideline or literally I'm launching a fade ball over the top, as you see Kennedy Carter sprinting down the sideline like she's running a skinny post to split 2 safeties in the middle of the field. Kennedy's going up, catching it, and she's been the best in the league in this window in terms of points on average per game off of fast breaks. And that's directly in alignment with the gang rebounding mentality. You can't get those fast break points, and you can't get those points in transition in general without closing possessions on defense on the glass. And that relationship, that synergy between those two is important, because I think the transition piece, like we've both spoken to ad nauseum this season, is important for the Sky because they're not the best in the half court. When the defense can load up in the gaps, they can take away looks, and they can really funnel them towards taking 3-point shots or being more perimeter oriented. That's when they have to go against the grain. But when you're in transition, playing off of the strength of your defense and then grabbing rebounds after initial stops, now you're in the position to where your best players, we talk about Kennedy being elite. She's arguably the best player in transition this season. Of the front court realm, Angela Reese and Camila Cardoso run the floor as well as any front court pieces in the league. And in addition to all of that, Marina Mabry is also one of the best scorers in transition, particularly from the 3-point line. So everything kind of falls in alignment when they're playing to their defense. And playing to their defense also means them stamping stops with defensive rebounds and then getting out in transition.
Yeah, I noticed that Marina was really making a concerted effort to get in, because when the Sky opponents double Angel Reese or they throw more bodies in the paint to counter the defensive glass touches that she and Camila will get, then the guards have to crash the glass as well. And you see Marina Mabry getting rebounds, not just because of that, but because she's making a concerted effort to get down into the paint. And when the ball gets tapped around, she's pulling it down. And then, ideally, for the Sky, getting out on the fast break. We know how much they like to hustle and get into the front court, hit ahead either to the half court or further ahead. And Marina's a big part of that. Let's bring up that Kennedy Carter graphic too, because you made mention of Kennedy and how good she's been. The Carter July. See, that makes me think of the Carter Ford. You know, I was exactly. That's why you did it. That's why you did it. Hey man, it's your world. Go ahead. Let's talk about it. Go ahead.
Kennedy Carter. Her ascension this season has been it's been a lot of fun to document and to do film on and rewatch games and look at how her impact when she has the ball in her hands is impacting the rest of the players on the court, but also impacting whoever the opposing defense is. You talk about the Sky having issues in terms of their flow in the half court. One person that's not had an issue is Kennedy Carter. Teams are loading up in the gaps whenever she has the ball, whether she's directly in front of the basket from outside the 3-point line or she's on the outer thirds of the court. They're loading up in gaps, sometimes playing soft double teams, soft zones outside of the person that's guarding the ball. And she just quite literally does not care in any capacity about who's guarding her, where the nearest help defender is, where the other nearest help defender is, and what they might be trying to do in terms of sending her to particular pockets on the floor. Excluding their most recent game against the New York Liberty, who did an excellent job of kind of trying to scheme her out of her rhythm until the fourth quarter of that game, we've seen Kennedy be going into that game against the most recent game against the Liberty, I believe she was 3rd or 4th in points per game in July. And now naturally, when she had a lull in that last game against the Liberty, she dropped down to 6th in terms of points per game in July. But the fact that she's in conversations with the likes of Asia Wilson and Kalia Copper in terms of scoring the basketball is insane. And the biggest piece of everything that Kennedy Carter is as a fire starter for the Chicago Sky, whether that's closing or just generally over the course of games, she gets in the paint at will. She's getting in the paint via cuts off the ball. She's getting in the paint via movement, sets, and actions. She's getting in the paint via isolation touches, and she's doing so in pick and roll. And whenever she has the ball in her hands out in the perimeter, the Chicago Sky are arguably at their best. And that says a lot because Angel Reese getting the ball at the elbows, like we've spoken to, has been extremely important in terms of their process. We've also talked about how important it is for Marina Mabry to have the ball in her hands because of the attention that she garners. The fact that Kennedy has seemingly trumped both of those two in this month of July in particular, and the offense has looked the way it's looked when she's running the show, says a lot. And I think that's a piece that they're going to need to lean into more. I think they can run a lot more pick and roll with Kennedy. I had an opportunity to speak with her after their game against the Atlanta Dream, the most recent one that they won at home last week. And she spoke to the fact that she loves to play in pick and roll. I got to ask her about her rejecting the screen in pick and roll context, and you could literally see her eyes light up. And she gave me like a little head nod, like, yes, I love. And then she went on to say, like, I love pick and roll. I think that there's a level of unpredictability, a word that I love to use. She spoke to it and she said she loves it because it keeps her options open. She can dribble, pass, or shoot to the other player in the action with her. She can do stuff on her own, or she can pass out of that based off of the defense. And I think that's something that can be another layer of offense that can add to their process after the All-Star and Olympic break.
Definitely. I think you talk about gravity so much, and it's well founded, because that is really, when you look at the pieces moving over the court, it's either because you get past your first mark and are able to get dribble penetration, or because ball movement pulls the defense to different areas on the court. The Sky used the first one. Their weekend opponent, the Liberty, used the second one. And when you have Kennedy Carter, if you try to utilize her as a driver, whether off isolation or dribble handoff, I'd love to see what they did more of in that second game Saturday, which was utilize drive and kick more so than drive and try to finish. And they were able to hit 5 of 8 threes in the first half because of it. That was the first time this season, I think, since early in the season, that we saw the Sky make a concerted effort to get the ball out to the three-point line and take those shots. It wasn't just trying to take shots off isolation. I think in terms of assisted threes, they have one of the lowest numbers in the league, assisted three-point field goal attempts. And you have to be able to get those as well as assisted twos, which means that your ball movement is improving and you're getting players the ball in open spaces where they can take high percentage shots. So as much as I love Kennedy Carter scoring, if you can raise her assist averages, it means that the Sky are utilizing her as not just a finisher and a spark scorer, but as a playmaker, which we know that she can do. I saw somebody actually tweet, like, why doesn't Kennedy take more threes? She took a lot of them at Texas A&M, and that really hasn't been her game. Plus, what we've seen in the W has been truncated by her shorter stints with Los Angeles and Atlanta. Now she has a longer time and more stability, and I think you're going to be able, hopefully in the second half, to see more of that from Kennedy, both the assist part of her game and hopefully some more perimeter shooting, because the Sky could use both.
Yes. And just to kind of close things out, I think another thing I want to mention in optimizing everything that Kennedy has ascended into in terms of being an absolutely you just can't say anything less than this elite level scorer, an elite basketball player with the ball in her hands. For my money, and I'm not a betting man, Chris knows this, but for my money, she's the best driver of the basketball in the W this season so far. And that says a lot when you see former Sky Kalia Copper in Phoenix doing what she's been doing in the month of July as well. I think that Kyle's been great, but I do think that Kennedy's drives have been a little bit more profound. And I think this is like 1A and 1B conversation we're having right now. But I do think that Kennedy's been the best driver of the basketball in the W so far. I'm sure Kalia is going to have something to say about that after the All-Star break, and I fully expect for Kennedy to also have something to say about it too. But I think the best way to optimize that with the Chicago Sky roster using Marina Mabry as a chess piece. Ice, before she left, talked about how Marina is important in the three-point shot generation for the team, especially playing off of the post and the inside-out shot profile that they have, the heavy inside-out shot profile that they've established. A big piece in that, as I wrote about maybe week 2 or week 3 of the regular season, is Marina Mabry. She's been responsible for nearly half of the three-point attempts for this team. And if we're looking at it at this moment in time, being 22, 23 games into the season now, the Sky are averaging 14 and a half three-point attempts a game. Marina Mabry's averaging 6.7, I believe, 6.7 three-point attempts. So she's averaging nearly half of the attempts and almost all of the makes on average. That's a heavy burden to carry, but as much of a negative as that is, it can be in process. You can flip it into a positive by using her as that chess piece. When Angel Reese has an elbow touch, is Marina screening for her on ball, or is she one pass away? When Kennedy Carter has the ball in the empty corner pick and roll, is Marina the one that's spaced off of the low man on the second side so she can get those corner three-point opportunities? There's a lot of little things I think they can do in terms of organizing their spacing and improving their process, especially in the half court. And I think unlocking a lot of that, especially when seeing how Kennedy has ascended into her own, is also figuring out how to continue to diversify the usage and functionality of Marina Mabry. We've seen her do a lot with screening and movement and route running off of screens and actions and things like that. I think there's still more food on the table with that. And I also end with, I think that there will be changes to come at some point for this team pertaining to their roster. Remains to be seen if things happen or, exactly what's going to happen. But I do think that there's going to be some type of change with the roster that should hopefully help to kind of expedite things in terms of their process.
I think so too. We haven't talked about any roster shakeups since the only thing that we've really seen is the waiving of Kaiser Gondrzic, but that opens up another roster spot for either a potential three-point shooter or I think another perimeter player that we're going to see. No real thoughts right now, concrete thoughts, I'd say, from us on who that will be.
I think there'll be plenty to speak to in time and options over the Olympic break. We got a lot of time to kind of ponder on that one.
Yeah. The Olympic break starts tomorrow as the Sky take on the Las Vegas Aces tonight in Las Vegas to close out their first half of the season. What's next on the schedule? After that, we see the Chicago Sky have key matchups at home against Phoenix on August 15th coming back. And that will be the first time Chicago Sky fans get to see Kalia Copper come back into Wintrust Arena, as well as at home against Indiana on August 30th. And that September 6th versus Washington starts a very important 3-game homestand near the end of the season where the Sky take on the Mystics, the Sparks, and Dallas, the bottom 3 teams in the league, which will be paramount for them to win all those games in order to stay in the playoff race or improve their seeding in the playoff race, plus away games at Connecticut and Minnesota. They hadn't played Phoenix. They have a couple of away games against Phoenix too, as well as Las Vegas. Not just tonight. They'll play the Las Vegas Aces twice and the Phoenix Mercury 3 times in that last half of the season. So that'll be the time. As we see, their strength of schedule is below 500, but I think a lot of that is because Phoenix is 12-12 right now, and they're a better team than that. So those strength of schedule and the average rank in the standings is a bit skewed. But the Sky still have 6 games against bottom 3 teams that will most likely be in the lottery. Isis did mention Satu Sabali will be back, but I still think the Wings are I'll be surprised if they get the A spot. They can do it, but they've had such a difficult first half of the season with injury that it'll be hard for them to climb back into the playoff race. So those are the games that you absolutely have to take. They'll just be more difficult with Satu coming back. And this is a key, as Stephen mentioned, before we get into his thoughts about that second half. Michaela minutes. Got to get those Michaela Onyenwere minutes, as we saw her against the Liberty. And Stephen, I know you had a lot to say about that, so I just wanted to make sure that y'all know and use that hashtag one more time. Michaela minutes. Use the hashtag.
Please use it. And I won't speak too much on Michaela. Been speaking about her getting minutes and why it makes sense functionality-wise, usage-wise, roster-wise since the preseason. I'll just lightly tap that sign one more time. And this 2 out of the last 3 games that we've seen from this team before tonight have been examples of why her 3-point shooting has hit in a timely manner as a counterpunch to the defenses that they've been seeing. And I think that her 3-point shooting and ability to space the floor on consistency was the only type of rebuttal and argument that anybody could have for her to not get consistent minutes. So the fact that she is knocking down her threes on consistency in a timely manner as well, there's no reason under the sun for her to not be getting minutes on this team, going up against teams like the Vegas Aces, like tonight, or even more recently against the New York Liberty. She's the type of player that can switch on defense. She's always on time, and even past being on time, she's always early with her rotations on defense. That's why she's able to see the types of activity moments with steals and blocks, taking charges, blowing up actions, all of those little things, and the ability to switch 1 through 5 and do so effectively. There's no other player on the roster switching 1 through 5 and doing so effectively for this team. I think they could use a player that's knocking down their threes from the wing in particular, and also somebody that's not going to be a negative on the defensive side of the floor. She plays perfectly in tandem with Camila and Angel and Izzy because she can switch with them whenever they're involved in actions. She can also double team, and she can also switch with a guard. She can switch with Kennedy. She can switch with Lindsay. She can switch with Marina. Allow for her to have time on the court to have that impact that she's been having, and I think there's a lot more positivity that can come from it.
I hope so. She's a player that can get her own shot. That's an important thing. You need more players that can get their own shots on this team, as well as Kennedy, as well as Dana at times. And you need, I think, the level of athleticism and defensive intensity that she can bring as well. Saw her go to the floor with Jonquel Jones to get an important tie up early in the game. A lot of people were saying, I wonder why Michaela was on the bench for so long. And that's something that I want to see improve from Teresa Weatherspoon in terms of tactics. I think we've already seen her not just willing to go with the hot hand, stay with the lineup in the last 7-8 minutes of the game. She's already improving there. But this second half is going to tell a lot about how she's able to improve her coaching ethos, her viewpoint on the fly. Because as we talked about, the Sky are at an important point of whether they really commit to going for a high playoff seed, as high a playoff seed as they can get, I should say, or if they want to play it out, keep focusing on development, and are okay with going into the lottery. I see Teresa Weatherspoon as wanting to get the best possible position in the league as they can. And to do that, she's going to have to change some things that she's done in this first half in terms of offensive balance and rotations.
Yeah, you can for anybody that is a betting person, you can put your money on not just her, but also Jeff Pagliacca being 10 toes down about getting into the playoffs. They have moved with that energy since the beginning. People have tried to thrust the rebuild adage on them or soft rebuild adage on them, and they have profusely stiff-armed it like Derrick Henry. They said, we are not a rebuilding team. We are a team that has a new identity to establish, but we are not a rebuilding team. They've been consistent in that. Their energy has matched that. And the result in terms of the standings, with them being in 7th place right now, matches directly in alignment with what they've been speaking to. Now it's a matter of sustaining. Atlanta Dream will be healthy in the second half, more than likely, with Ryan Howard coming back. Satu Sabli will be coming back for the Dallas Wings. The Los Angeles Sparks have De'Erica Hamby operating as a top 10 basketball player in the world right now. That leaves you with the opportunity, in addition to Rickea Jackson being a really good rookie and really ascending now, to make things happen. You have to be able to stave off the people from behind you while also continuing to grow in your own process. And that's something I'm going to be looking forward to watching this team do as the stakes get raised and the urgency that they have to move with continues to grow as well.
That's going to take us just about to the end. If we could close with that tweet from Breezy Turner Braggs, because this I thought was funny and reminded me of something that happened to me back in Boy Scouts. Camila Cardoso left her suitcase in Chicago for this Las Vegas trip tonight. She didn't even realize until she got on the plane. Now she in Vegas with just her airport fit, talking about how she got to go buy a toothbrush. This is how she looked at me on the plane when she realized she forgot it. The end of that Natalie tweet is, bro, why is she the most unintentionally funny player on the team? I would just say this. Sometimes you're getting ready for a trip. You make sure you check and double check. And then you get on the plane and you realize you forgot your shoes, you forgot your toothbrush, you forgot your underwear. I went on a whole camping trip in Boy Scouts and forgot a sleeping bag. Sometimes it happens like that sometimes. So my heart goes out to Camila Cardoso for this one, because even if we haven't all been there, we've been there. I'll say that. I've been there, so I feel for you.
Shout out to Camilla. She's just she's important for a team when things get very serious. She's one of those players that can kind of break that seriousness and still make sure that people are having fun naturally. She doesn't have to force it. It just kind of comes naturally for her. I think that's important to a team ethos like you speak to often. And she's a player I think that's going to be in for a big second. I can't say second half because they passed the halfway mark, but she's in for a big post-Olympic break in terms of when games are growing more meaningful. I hope her usage continues to evolve. I hope she finishes around the basket on more consistency and efficiency. But I do think that she's going to see a spike in usage as well as her production levels and potentially in minutes as well. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for her down this home stretch.
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see Camilla improve her overall scoring touch and her overall game. And I'm with you. I think we're going to see it in the second half. That's going to do it for us. Thank you for tuning in to the CHGO Sky Podcast. Thanks once again to Isis Young for coming on, being our special guest today. Thank you to the ever-resilient Greg Braggs, who's had some difficulties, not just the past couple days, but this month. Good to have you back on with us, sir. Follow him at gbraggs Jr. 23 on Twitter. Follow Steven at stateus.3. Braggs, go ahead, man. I'm not going to cut you off. I know you've had to deal with it.
I was just giving a salute. I appreciate you.
Hey, man, you came on with us.
I got my father-in-law's background with the fish over my head, so that's what we're doing right now with no power in Northwest Indiana.
It was if y'all were around Chicagoland, you know how the storms were. So hope everybody out there is safe, doing the best they can. Follow the show at CHGO_Sky. I'm at Quandary Kitten. That's KWANDARY Kitten. And CHGO Sports at CHGO_Sports. Become a CHGO diehard today. Get 20% off all merchandise, and you can hook up with us later this summer at the Chicago. Is it the Tee-Off Classic or the Cookout Classic?
That would be the Cookout Classic coming up here Monday. So I think tomorrow is the cutoff date to sign up. So if you haven't done that, you want to come out and hit the links, go to allchgo.com/events, and you can join us for a cookout and some golfing, probably a lot of bad golfing.
That's why it's a scramble. That's why it's a best ball scramble.
Right. You're damn right.
And Steven, I know you've been doing a lot in terms of videos. Talk about it, man. We got to get your YouTube going for sure.
Yeah, just real quick. You can see my YouTube handle right under my face right here on the screen. Steven Perjon Gardner 3. Shoot me a subscription on YouTube. Definitely got a lot more on the court conversations in terms of speaking to things that have been happening with the Sky. Individual players, process stuff on offense and defense, adjustments, all of that stuff coming over the Olympic break as well as going into the latter stretch of the regular season. Also, all of my interactions with players and coaches for the most part, I post there as well. So tap in with me over there. You can see all of my Chicago Sky stuff as well as some of my Mercury stuff as well over with PHNX. So shoot me a subscription there. Let's continue to clean up basketball discourse because there's a lot of beautiful stuff to talk about without acknowledging all of the other stuff.
And we won't even acknowledge any of the other stuff further than that. This has been the CHGO Sky Podcast. Until next time, folks, be good, do great things, hit up the like, and keep your head above the clouds.
We all silly like the mayor.